Did you know that everyday people are making thousands of dollars per month on Etsy without ever having to make any products themselves or have any design experience? A lot of people think that Etsy is just a small website for handmade sellers, when in reality it's become a powerhouse of a platform that sells billions of dollars every year. This is Francisco, a software engineer that started Etsy as a side hustle in 2023 and has sold $372,000 in revenue his first year on Etsy using a process called print on demand. Print on demand is a process where you make designs on your computer or your phone and you post them for sale on Etsy before they ever even turn into a physical product. And instead of having to print that item and ship it when you get orders, you connect with a print-on-demand production partner like Printify, where they actually print the items and ship it for you. With this method, you get to avoid buying tons of inventory and having to deal with those shipping logistics. In this interview with Francisco, we'll learn what products he sold and was so successful with, strategies that he used to stand out in the marketplace, what software he used to fulfill 25 to 60 custom orders per day during the busiest time of the year, and one trick that helps him make an extra 50 to 150 sales per month on autopilot consistently. So make sure to stay tuned all the way until the end because this interview has a ton of value. All of his stats and store have been vetted for this interview but won't be shown in this video due to privacy reasons. And if you haven't started your print-on-demand business just yet, I'll link my free mini course down below that'll help you get your print-on-demand store up and running in just a weekend. This all started when Francisco's friend told him that he was going to be opening a print-on-demand store on Etsy and suggested that they open their stores at the same time so they could help support each other. Even though Francisco didn't have any previous design experience, he was really excited and got started literally 2 days later, jumping in with both feet. But his journey really begins 2 or 3 weeks later when he got his very first sale from a friend of his.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is that cha-ching noise on my phone? So I grab my phone, I'm looking like, oh my gosh, I got a sale. I'm like, oh, it's my friend, cool. Like, and I was like so ecstatic for like my very first sale, even though it was to a friend, and it was pretty cool. And then I think like a week later, I got my first organic sale, and I was
Wow.
yeah, it was so cool. Like, it was probably about 3 weeks in where I got like my first organic sale, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is awesome. Like, I showed my wife, I ran to the room, like, look at this, I got a sale. And like, she lives on the West Coast somewhere. I would have probably never even like met this lady before. And I was like so ecstatic that I, got a sale. And then my friend that I started my shop, and we're kind of, helping each other. I messaged him, sent him a text message, and kind of like was just so ecstatic, and then from there it was like I could see like the light at the end of the tunnel, like, oh man, like I could probably really make this work, and I went through the rigorous process of trying to improve my listing quality, SEO, mock-ups. Then where my shop really took off, my wife shared my shop with my mother-in-law and was like, hey, I know you like shirts, and your son-in-law made an Etsy store, sells a lot of stuff, and I think at that time I had probably about 400 listings or so. Mm-hmm. And so she ran through my store. So she literally bought 4 shirts from my shop. And to this day, one of those shirts is still a bestseller. So the Etsy algorithm pretty much took that sale, and I just started seeing like favorites after favorites after favorites after sale and sale and sale. And I was like, I don't know what is going on. Like, what is happening to my store? So long story short, that was roughly around Mother's Day, where those sales are coming in a niche that's very popular with women, and it was kind of like a floral type design. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I can see what's happening here. So I started taking techniques and saying, hey, let me make this design in other niches and start cross-niching it out to just hit different varieties of people. And then I started seeing those start making sales and just start piling on each other, to the point that I think from April is when I reached about 100 sales.
So it took you just a couple of months to get first sale to your 100th sale.
Yep, just a couple months. And I was like, oh my gosh, everyone says like, get to your first 100 sales and your store will start soaring. And I really worked at that point at a lot of customer service, helping my customers as quickly as I can, answering questions, sending thank you messages to them as they order. I was doing a rigorous, delivery confirmation messages, going through, sending them messages, and kind of like, asking for reviews. And as I started getting more and more reviews, I was seeing a lot more sales coming through. And it was just like, it happened so quickly for my shop, and then as I was sharing with my friend's like, oh my gosh, like your store is like going crazy right now. Like, how you handling this? I'm like, I don't know, honestly. Like, it was just so like overwhelming. And then this past fourth quarter was just crazy, about 300 orders a day, in multiple like niches that I didn't even think I was going to be able to sell in, but things were just selling off the racks. And it was quite overwhelming, to the point, I think I ended a year with close to 400,000 in sales revenue.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
amazing, especially for your first year. So I'd love
yeah.
to break down maybe some of what went into building that success to give the people watching this video some actionable takeaways of maybe what kind of worked well for you. So you said when you first got started, it sounds like you really just kind of like hit the ground running with making listings. What did that process look like for you?
My wife loves watching TV. So she would get off work, would come home, she would jump on the TV, start watching. So I was literally working on Etsy from probably when I got home until like 1 or 2 in the morning. Cause like I get so driven into like what I'm doing. Like I need to finish what I started. So I was probably listing maybe like 15 listings a day-ish. The process at first, what I was doing is I was using software but I was using something not so great until I started using Canva, which actually made my life so much easier, where I could pretty much, I used the process of making a scalable design, as a lot of tips out there is make a design that you can just scale on. You can just switch out a name or switch out a niche or switch out just anything, like make something personalizable, but then also list it non-personalizable with other things. So that's kind of how I scaled up, to the fact that that's how I did get to about 15-ish listings a day, and doing a lot of Everbee research. So I would go through Everbee, do a lot of research. I would gather my tags, put them in like a notepad, and I would kind of do everything in steps. And that's kind of how I was able to like pretty much get a bunch of listings out as quickly as I could, but then not just throwing just stuff at the wall. I was really just trying to take a lot of those tips that a lot of YouTubers are trying to emphasize with trying to scale up your print on demand business.
Okay, so then what do you think some of the biggest kind of things that you did that made the big difference in your business between when you first started, maybe not as many of your listings sold, to kind of looking at your process now? What do you think some of those big changes that you made that got you to start seeing results were?
So I really started to analyze what listings I was making that was doing well. I would go through, I think every couple days, I would look through my listings, start seeing like how many favors am I getting on this opposed to that, like what are sales coming in here, and then I would then use those listings to piggyback on and kind of cross these those type of designs into other niches. And I started seeing like a trend of like color palettes. Like I had a color palette I used that was selling like crazy. And I'm like, this color and this font is actually selling well. Let me make this over here as well. And I started seeing results there. And then I just basically just started using the same kind of techniques and same fonts and color palettes and just using them all over in different niches I was designing in. And then that's how my success started to go from minimal to like doubling and tripling, like every week, month, and so on and so forth, all the way through fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so then let's go into maybe a couple more of like the more specific details that I know people are going to ask. What types of products do you sell in your store?
Okay, so I first started with just t-shirts. I was selling Bella Canvas 3001s. And then I kind of started shifting towards a lot more comfort color shirts. I believe you posted a video way back when about getting into comfort colors, like you could see better profit margins, are pretty popular shirts. And when I started looking into them, I was like, you know what, that's probably a good idea. So I started doing a lot of designs on comfort colors and sweatshirts, Gildan 1800s. And then I also was dabbing into other products like candles, what else was tote bags. I tried a couple blankets. I was kind of really trying to gear my store into seeing what could I sell, like what my designs were good on certain products or whatnot. And then I started seeing like some results here, some results there. So I really focused on a lot more t-shirts and sweatshirts at this time. Those seem like the best things that my store sells. And I kind of just shifted away from some other products and went pretty much straight to this apparel.
I love to hear that because I think a lot of people are worried that t-shirts and sweatshirts are oversaturated on Etsy. But it's awesome to see you, someone who just started just about almost a year ago now, and you are killing it with those products that people are worried they're oversaturated. So was that ever a concern for you? And what do you think about t-shirts and sweatshirts being oversaturated?
Yeah, so at first it was a little concerning. As I was like, doing research, I'm like, man, like going through E-Rank and just seeing like so much competition. But all in all, like if you can make a unique design that is not in the marketplace, different puns, different like styles of designs, different fonts, different colors, and even your mock-ups, like if you can use a mock-up that is going to stand out in the whole marketplace, you can see massive success. And that's kind of how my shop basically started growing. I just started to do a little different stuff, like, oh, everyone's using the sand color as like a Gildan 1800 default mock-up, like let me try just putting black, and black stood out on like the front page. So I kind of started like, and I did a lot of I guess your copying of a listing and start changing your SEO and using different photos and all that to try and stand out. So at first I was pretty concerned with saturation, but at this point it is saturated in some markets. But if you can do enough research, you can literally find bunches of unsaturated niches that you can go into, start designing for. And my strategy really wasn't to just try to win the lottery off the rip. I was just trying to get little wins here and there, scale my shop, have a couple listings here that sell 5 to 10 a week, and then keep scaling on that scale. And I think any shop out there could literally do the same.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So it sounds like you kind of gone more broad, try lots of different niches with different products, and then hopefully a bunch of them will get a couple of sales each, and it really all starts to add up. I'm sure you have your couple big best sellers, but is it that the majority of your sales are just coming because you have a couple hundred listings that are all selling, that you've all put to work for you, or is it really mostly just a few listings?
I have probably about 25 bestsellers right now. And that is a majority of where a lot of my sales and orders come from. But then I do see a trickle of, 20 sales here a week for certain listings and 20 sales here a week from certain listings. So I have a good amount of listings that do sell. Some sell more than others. I've had probably about 5 bestsellers for the whole year, which is really surprising to me, and constantly seeing sales. So a lot of my strategy there was I was really going into a lot of evergreen. I do, I don't know, I'll probably put like 50 listings in for, all the holidays and upcoming events and all that. But then a lot of my extra other time, I go into like, let me get some more evergreen into these niches I'm seeing that are trending or popular now, or low competition, still pretty good, widely searched, and trying to really just narrow down consistency. I really focused my first year on more evergreen than just straight holiday.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I know that a lot of people are going to want to know, did you run Etsy ads in your store, and do you today as well?
Yeah, so I did utilize Etsy ads. As soon as I started getting a bunch of sales on my primary listing, I started running some ads on that. I think I was running maybe $5 a day or so on a few of my listings. And then to this day, I still do run ads. I don't run as much in ads as I did previously. One big reason why I do like running Etsy ads I get some more exposure for some of my newer listings, but then the statistics you can get from your SE ads, like what search require or search criteria people were searching that found your actual listing, and then I can kind of see like what are actually people searching that are finding this specific listing, and I can use some of those keywords into my titles and tags and to try and boost my other listings that are also in that same niche. So it's a really helpful statistic tracking and pretty much a built-in e-rank at that point.
Yeah, it's nice to get your own information. I know I've gotten lots of ideas for new niches to get into from those search results before. And so I guess that's one interesting question for you is what kind of niches have you gotten into?
Yeah, so what I first started out with was a lot of occupation
Mhm.
type niches. I found that those were some of them could be kind of saturated, but some of them not so much. So really taking that approach of like scaling my designs where I can just pop in a new occupation in there. I do design a lot for occupations. I've designed a lot for hobbies as well. That was something that my store kind of seen a lot of growth with. Um, and believe it or not, I design a lot for like the pet niche or animal niche. Um, People are they love their animals and or just different types of animals in general, like lions, tigers, like just. So I was really gearing, and a lot of my designs I have a lot of text-based designs, but I also have just a lot of just a graphic. My very first big bestseller it had no words on it. It was literally just a graphic. That I was really surprised. I'm like, really, I really didn't think anyone would just buy this graphic, but so I can kind of consider my shop as more of a general shop, I should say, instead of more just niche specific.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like you've had a really amazing first year on print on demand. I think this is a journey that lots of people would love to have. But, a lot of people don't get things going quite as quickly as you have. Are there any kind of struggles that you had to go through or lessons that you had to learn that you could pass along some words of wisdom to the people watching?
My biggest takeaway, when you run into a slump, just keep pushing. I had that happen. When I got to 100 sales, I was kind of like, oh yes, like my store is gonna like go through the roof. Like my store is gonna make so much revenue this year, and it didn't really happen like that. Like I got to 100 sales, and then my sales started to trickle across, and I didn't really know. It was kind of like a defeat in itself, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't know what I'm really not doing correctly. Biggest takeaway: I kept pushing. I kept doing research. I kept trying to find better mock-ups, trying to figure out like what design styles are working, what I can do to better serve my customers. Customer service really is a big thing. Like if you can keep your customers happy, those customers will continue coming back as long as you have other products that they're looking to buy. Another thing I utilize a lot with Printify is the thank you cards. That has really boosted a lot of my sales. Getting when you really think about Etsy, you think about it's a gift giving platform. So I have a lot of customers that would ship the gift right to their sisters, brothers, whatever, and they would use my code to come to my shop and purchase something else.
Oh, you did find a lot of
Yes,
success with that.
I have, yes. It At first I was kind of like, wait a minute. So I use a different code, like a little discount code to give them, and that's how I kind of tracked if my thank you cards were being successful. And I started seeing like an influx of sales. So I'm like, hey, I found your shop and I got a gift from someone, and I seen your thank you card, and here I am. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, this is actually a neat strategy. So I would give that pointer. If you are using Printify, maybe Swift POD, one of my main production partners that I do use.
Do you have any data on what that's looked like for you? Like how many extra sales or how much more in revenue you've actually done from those?
Yeah. So I think on average, I get about 40 to 50 orders a month on average. During fourth quarter, I think that number was like maybe triple.
Wow. And
Yeah.
just from the code on the thank you card. The code isn't anywhere
Yes.
else. You're not like sending
No.
that to people who just bought or anything.
Yep. So how I have mine set up is I have a thank you or I run sales every day. So I have like, a specific code I use for my like daily sales, and then, a code specifically for my abandoning carts, and a sale or a coupon code for all my favorites. So my strategy was, let me use a separate code for my thank you card so I can track just the progress. So my thank you cards are very simple. I have, my Etsy link on it. I even, here's a good tip, use QR codes. I have a QR code on mine. You can use Canva to make a QR code and have it directly linked right to your shop. And just a simple message on there, thank you for your business, like, I hope this made your day like it made ours. Just anything very personable. And then, if you would like a discount on your future order, here's a coupon code. And I see it used at least 50 plus times a month, at least.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then another question I had for you is, what types of listings do you do? So I'm just curious, do you do a lot of personalized listings? Do you do a lot of group listings? Or are they just normal, you already have the design, they buy it, it automatically gets sent from Printify?
Sure. I have a number of both of those, actually. I do a lot of personalized, and I utilize just a lot of just designs that you print and it just gets shipped to you. So a lot of my strategy, and I use Hello Custom for a lot of my personalizations. That's, not gonna lie, was a lifesaver during Q4. I think around Q4 time, I was probably getting about 25 to 60 personalized orders a day. And it was just me, myself, and I. So I utilize Hello Customs a lot for my personalized, which some of them were just simple personalizations, EST years, a name, like putting a name on it, putting like, I don't know, like a dog name on it, putting just anything personalized so that you can just think of. And then, so kind of what I've done is I have a little strategy where I would make a listing, depending on what the design is, make it where it's just a one and done. You buy it, you get it. There's no personalization to it. And then I would say, oh, that's some occupation. I can make another listing and put EST year on the bottom and make it personalized. With Hello Custom, it was super easy for me to hit approve and let it go on and let it go do its thing.
Yeah, no, I think that really sums it up super well. And I hope that, people hear in this, video that you can't replace the hard work of the research of like the designs that you're making and the mock-ups with anything else. None of the other like tips and tricks on the internet make you sales. Without those two things being set up and in place, nothing else you do will get you sales, right? I think there's a lot of people out there that worry about a lot of little details when really it's like you kind of have to get those basics down and then
Oh
everything
yeah.
else will fall into place.
Oh yeah. Like the basics, if you follow the basics, like any shop can be successful. As long as you follow those basic rules, I feel like anyone can do it, really.
So you agree there's no like secret sauce. It's not like you have to know this one
No,
thing and then you'll get sales,
no,
right?
like no, not at all. Like I literally use a lot of your videos and a lot of tips that you've given in a lot of your videos, and pretty much just put it into my business, and it started to grow slowly but surely, and then ballooned out of nowhere, and here I am today, still doing it, chugging along. I think this month I'm around $60,000 in sales revenue during like the slower couple months. So I'm still using the same strategies, same tips. There's no secrets that I've found or done. Just done everything standard. That research research is probably the biggest thing.
Tons of research and being really consistent, it sounds like has been the
Yes.
recipes for your success.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything that you've learned in your business. I think it's going to be super, super helpful for anyone that watches this video. So I really appreciate you coming on here, and thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I hope you absolutely loved this interview with Fransisco. I think he brought a ton of great value to what it looks like and how much work goes into building a print-on-demand business and how to be successful in your very first year. Let's do a quick recap of what I think your takeaways should be from this video. First, he jumped in and started his store 2 days after even finding out what print-on-demand was. Sometimes taking action is the best way to learn. If you spend weeks and months researching, it all just kind of starts to turn into brain fog in your mind. You need to start implementing what you're learning to really solidify it. Second is that he had almost 400 listings in his store before his first listing ever took off and became a bestseller. So if you only have a few listings in your store or even 100, just remember that sometimes you still have more to learn and practice before you're going to start seeing those results. Third is that Fransisco did a great job on doubling down on what was working. When he found certain font combinations and color combinations that worked for him, he didn't make just one design with it. He scaled that out to niche after niche after niche, since he knew that that aesthetic was working really well for him. Fourth is that he tried A/B testing different mockups and SEO strategies. So that means he posted his designs a couple of different times to really learn which mockups converted the best for his designs and which types of SEO actually worked well for him. Fifth is that he sent thank you cards to each and every order, offering them an additional discount off their next purchase. This helped him get 50 to 150 more sales every single month and could be a great way for you to help grow your shop. And make sure to like this video and subscribe and stay tuned for next week's video where I walk through how you can actually create these, add your own QR code to do exactly what Fransisco is talking about in this interview. I'll link a few tutorials down below that'll cover some of the topics that Fransisco and I talked about in today's video, but I really hope that you enjoyed this interview. I appreciate you watching all the way until the end, and I'll see you in the next one.